environmental issues. There's not really a lot of difference at all. They cost more. There's a higher probability that they're polluted in some way because there have been more and more developers on those corners over the years, and they've been redeveloped several times. So it's really not that difficult. So I had a few slides we're going to click through fairly quickly, and should be ready to go here. A little bit about Parker's. Their first store was 1976, so this was our 40th year anniversary this year. In 2014, they had 36 stores. The current number of stores that we have right now is 51. We're opening about 9 stores this year. We plan to do a little bit better than that next year. So what is a brownfield really? And how does it affect a developer? So what I did is I went in, I go into the US EPA website frequently when I run into these problems, and you're like, are you looking for these problems? I've been in this area 2 years and 3 months. I'm on my 4th brownfield process right now. So it's something that you can navigate through. You don't have to be afraid of it, but you need to have a plan. Brownfield is a property, the expansion, redevelopment, or reuse of which may be complicated by the presence of really bad stuff that you can't pronounce. There are roughly 450,000 brownfields in the U.S. And how did we get here, and how did we have a brownfield law at all? And that was basically House Bill 2869, introduced 9/10/2001. So there was a little something going on before the next day. And it actually amended 2 bills, and it replaced CERCLA, or the Superfund legislation, and it was passed in December of 2001. And basically, it has become the Small Business Liability Relief and Brownfields Revitalization Act. So you're going to need to cooperate and communicate with the folks that are on your team when you get into it. If you do not have a plan, you're going to find out that the discussions get a little bit heated very early on, and they're going to blame the finger and point the finger and blame the guy who's in the real estate department. And so you communicate back and forth with senior members of your staff, and it kind of looks something like this. So it's going to cause a little bit of stress as you go. But if you do have a plan and you're willing to seek some advice, there's a way that you can get through it. So if you've heard that there's a really desirable property, it's always been rumored to be what we refer to as hot. It's got a little bit of an issue. There's some things that you should do. First off, you need to create a plan. You need to talk to your environmental company. You need to say, this is what I do know. What can you help me with? And these guys know. We are very blessed in this region. There's 2 or 3 really fine environmental companies. I certainly work a lot with Terracon. They've pulled me out of the fire a few times. I'm very grateful for that. But you want to get them involved very early, and you want to create a plan to find out what you're actually looking for. So a lot of people will tell you, yeah, don't do a phase 1. It's a waste of money. $1,500, $2,000, down the drain. Just go drill it. Well, okay. And then you take those samples and you take them to a test company, and what are you going to test for? Because you don't know the history of the property. So if you don't know what could have been on that site, you better go ahead and find out historically what's been on that site. I grew up in a family business where we had excavating equipment around. I mean, we used to take the used motor oil and hydraulic fluid and dump it along the fence line to keep the weeds down. The laws have changed a great deal. Habits have changed a great deal over the years. But you need to know what you're looking for. You need to learn. You need to ask a lot of questions and measure your risk and see if they can find a solution. If they can't find a solution, if it's not something that fits into a program where there is a solution and you're a developer, what would you do? Anybody. What's that?
Move on.
Move on. Drop it. It's not that hard. And so you hope that there's a solution. Most of the time there is. The second thing that you need to do is you need to make friends with your attorneys, because you are going to see a lot of documents and you're going to see a lot of terminology that you may or may not be as familiar with. But if you're a good developer, you're going to get rid of any time limitations in that agreement right then and there. Hopefully you know it when you're going to go in, you're going to knock on the door and say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller,